I've been badgered and badgered in my DMs. Where's the Michigan mood tracker? Well, the answer is right here tonight. We had to wait on the Michigan mood tracker for what I think are obvious reasons. I couldn't do it pre-spring because, well, we had just realized Jim Harbaugh was still going to be around. But now we're here, everything's calmed down. We know Jim Harbaugh is going to roll on as Michigan head coach, and I am sensing a growing fissure, probably the first time we've ever used that word on the show, between the way Michigan fans feel about the program and maybe just the general national perception of the program. Here's why. Most fans, not ours, not the folks who roll with Pate State, but most casual fans, they tuned out around the time the whole Jim Harbaugh NFL stuff was really hot. And so their lasting impression was Michigan got blown out in the playoff, then Harbaugh tried to leave, and his coordinators left even though he didn't leave, and so I don't think Michigan's going to be good this year. I mean, I probably just summed up what a lot of the national casual college football population thinks about Michigan. I don't get the sense that's how the locals feel at all. They certainly didn't like the way things went down, but there's been a difference since that happened, because Michigan fans have been tuned into their program all along, whether you've been paying attention in Illinois or not. And the reason why I think that is because I think they feel like everyone checked back in. And there's another thing, and I'm kind of going to mention it at the end, but the mood here for Michigan, it's not going to make sense unless you follow me a little bit. The mood for Michigan fans is finally home. Finally home meaning they didn't beat Ohio State for a long time. That didn't feel good at all. They did not win the Big Ten championship for a long time. They didn't go to the college football playoff for a long time. They weren't respected nationally for a long time. They had started to become the butt of jokes nationally. And then they knocked every single one of those dominoes down in one season. And you know what that feels like? That feels like if you've ever traveled a lot and you've had to live out of hotels and live out of a suitcase, and you finally walk in the door of your home where your address is the one on the mailbox, and you just go, whew. It doesn't matter if you got clothes all over the place. It doesn't matter if the dishes aren't done. It doesn't matter if you're starving. You're home. So all those other things we can take care of. We're home. When Michigan beat Ohio State for the first time under Harbaugh, when they won the Big Ten championship for the first time under Harbaugh, when they went to the playoff for the first time under Harbaugh, and when they gained respect again for the first time in a while under Harbaugh, that's like coming home. And what does that have to do with this year? Well, once you get over one of those psychological hurdles like that, which I think the fan base needed to and the program both needed to, then you're much more likely to be able to weather some NFL drama. So after all that happened, as we all well know, and it's been well documented, Jim Harbaugh tries his luck at landing the Vikings job. He doesn't get it, and a lot of the national folks react how I just told you they reacted. Around the program, while there was a lot of consternation as that went on, here's what the feedback's been since then. The feedback has been, we're not even worried about it anymore. Like, it's a non-issue around Michigan. I need to stress this because I don't think a lot of you have had time to pay attention to the day-to-day goings-on in and around Ann Arbor. They do not think this is going to be an issue. And it's not just talking points. Okay, you can kind of tell when someone's BSing you. But the people to trust around Michigan would tell you, Jim Harbaugh's checked back in. In fact, if you read some of the feedback from some of the job interviews he did, some of those folks said Harbaugh was actually way more detailed than he's ever been. He was actually more dialed in and more thorough than he's ever been, having to hire replacements for McDonald and Gaddis and those guys. And they're also doing a pretty good job recruiting. I was reading some of Sam Webb's stuff over on the Michigan Insider earlier today, talking about Jay Harbaugh, his son, who's been on the staff for a few years, and the presence that a lot of their recruiters have in St. Louis, and kind of ever expanding that web, no pun intended, and expanding that reach of Michigan recruiting. My point is, they are at a place now that they accomplished several things they needed to last year, where I think they've got a lot of confidence as a program. They feel like the Michigan way, you know, that brand, that way of doing things is bigger than who did we lose and who's coming in. They feel to a much lesser version. They feel kind of like Bama fans have felt for a long time with Saban. Obviously, I'm not comparing the two programs and the two coaches, but folks around Bama will say, hey, as long as Saban's here, I'm not worried about it. Well, that's where Michigan wants to get. And they took a big step in getting there this past year when they accomplished what they accomplished. But now the psychological hurdle's cleared. And so Michigan comes in again, and here's what you need to know about 2022. Here's why you can reasonably have a lot of confidence looking at Michigan. They start so favorably. They start with Colorado State. I'm just going to tell you I expect them to win that game. I expect them to beat Hawaii in week 2. I expect them to beat UConn, led by Jim Mora Jr., by the way. Keep up with those offseason coaching moves. And then they've got Maryland in week 4. They should start 4-0. I mean, they should be perfect in the month of September. That's what they should be. And then it gets a little meatier. They've got back-to-back roadies at Iowa and Indiana. But the point is, they come off last year, and they got a ton of just mental momentum, if nothing else, and they should start very strong in 2022. And so any of the lingering questions, my point is, will be answered. Whether it's McNamara and McCarthy and how's that quarterback rotation going to work out and how are we going to replace guys like Dax Hill, it will be figured out. You will know, for better or for worse, what kind of Michigan football team you have by the time they go to Iowa City, October 1st. So the impact of 2021 cannot be overstated. At the very least, I don't care if they lose 3 games this year. At the very least, it's good to have Michigan football meaning what Michigan football should mean again, if nothing else in the national conversation. Because you always hear people say, oh, college football needs this team to be good, needs that team. Well, the fact of the matter is the sport doesn't need any team to be good. It greatly helps disproportionately when certain teams are good. And this one right here, that maize and blue, that 109 or some odd thousand in the big house, it's really good when that is appointment viewing. And it became appointment viewing again last year, and I hope it stays that way.